Hey, what's happening, guys? What's going on? YouTube, you guys have tuned into Rules for Rebels, and in today's video, we're going to be sharing an interesting story with you guys that will hopefully prompt you to think twice about what apps you download on your phone, who you share your data with, and hopefully just kind of make you think about your privacy and security a little bit more. This story is a little bit more relevant to females. And I realize I have a heavily male audience, but this is a pretty interesting story. Before you guys tune out, you may want to send this story over to your girlfriends or your wives. And regardless of whether you're a lady who's tracking your period with an app or not, I think this should make us all rethink kind of our privacy, what apps we download on our phones, and who we share data with. Another kind of interesting thing about this was the app involved that we're going to be talking about in today's story had promised that it wouldn't share data with any third parties. They violated that and did share data. So I realize most people don't read the agreements and the terms when they sign up for an app. But really, why read them anyway? Because these companies don't actually adhere to the terms that they put out in the first place. And this is really kind of interesting because even if you didn't log into the app with Facebook, and even if you didn't have a Facebook account, your data was still shared with both Facebook and Google. I think this is kind of interesting following. We did the story about how hackers were locking up people's app-controlled chastity devices, or cock boxes, whatever they call them. And I think this just kind of goes to show, technology is great, but don't use technology more than you need to. It's great to have Wi-Fi in the house so you don't have to drag a cord around with you everywhere. You probably don't need your toaster or your refrigerator hooked up to the internet. So, without further ado, let's hop right on into the story. The FTC has reached a settlement with Flow Health over fertility tracking app. Flow Health is accused of improperly sharing data with Facebook, including whether users were ovulating. And it's kind of funny. I thought this, I've never been a huge fan of Facebook. Like way back in the early days of Facebook when I was in college, I had a Facebook account, and pretty early on into having a Facebook account, I wound up getting rid of it. And I've probably told this story before, but I remember one day my roommate at the time was going on a date with this girl. I don't know if you've met her on Plenty of Fish or one of these sites, but my roommate was going out with this girl, and I think she had a friend who was tagging along. So he asked me to kind of be the wingman. At the time, I didn't have a girlfriend, but I was kind of casually dating this girl. And so I figured I'd kind of tag along. I wasn't going on a date. I was just being a good friend going along. But regardless, we go to this bar. We're having a couple drinks. And I don't know if my buddy posted a picture or one of these girls posted a picture. I kid you not, within 30 minutes of this picture being posted to Facebook, I start getting texts and get a phone call from this girl who I was casually dating at the time. And she's like, "What the fuck are you doing? You're on a date?" And I was like, "I'm not on a date. I'm tagging along, being a wingman for my buddy." But regardless, that really kind of highlighted to me why I didn't want to be on Facebook. I don't need everybody knowing where I'm eating all my meals. And, not that I make a habit of like lying to my friends or family, but if somebody's like, "Hey, you want to go out tonight or you want to go do something?" And you're like, "No, I think I'm going to stay at home." And then you wind up going and doing something later anyways, or you get maybe you get a second wind or a later burst of energy and you go do something. People wind up seeing you on Facebook, and it's like, "You told me you didn't want to go to the bar, but you wound up going to Dave and Bust." I just don't really like the idea of your life being out there for every detail of your life being out there for everyone. Obviously, Facebook also pretty much throughout their entire history has been violating people's privacy, illegally gathering data, illegally sharing data, and so it's probably an app that you really don't want to be using. And actually, if any of you guys are in the state of Illinois, you might have a short period of time to actually cash in on this. The state of Illinois sued Facebook in a class action lawsuit. I believe it was over data sharing or something to do with facial recognition. Actually, now that I think about it, I think it was facial recognition. But every resident of Illinois who had a Facebook account between, I forget the exact dates, but it's probably something like between 2009 and 2016 or 2011 and 2016, every Illinois resident who had a Facebook account is eligible for I believe it's a $400 payment from Facebook as part of this class action lawsuit. So if you are somebody from Illinois, go ahead and Google that. It's pretty easy to sign up for. I think if you go over to topclassactionlawsuits.com, they have some details about it as well. And I forget if I said this already, but I shared this story with my girlfriend last night just because I thought it was interesting, and I know she has one of those period apps. And she was like, "Oh shit, that's the app that I actually use." And she said, "Why do they want my, she's like, why do they want my data? Like, I don't know if they want to figure out when you're having your period to advertise you tampons, or if they figure you'll be more emotional at a certain point of the month so they can serve you more ads and get you to buy stuff." Not really sure the logic behind collecting this data, but let's get into the story and read more about it. The Federal Trade Commission reached a settlement with Flow Health, Inc., a developer of a widely used period and fertility tracking app, over allegations that it improperly shared personal data with Facebook and others, including whether users were ovulating. The data shared by Flow Health allowed online ads to be targeted to those users, despite Flow Health's promises that information would be kept private, the Wall Street Journal found in a 2019 article. So this app told you they weren't going to share your data. They did wind up sharing your data with Facebook and Google, among potentially other apps and companies as well. The FTC's vote on the proposed settlement was unanimous, 5-0. The agency said Wednesday the proposed settlement with the FTC, if it becomes final following public comment, would require Flow Health to obtain an independent review of its privacy practices and get users' consent before sharing their health information, the agency said. The company also must notify consumers of the FTC charges that it shared consumers' personal information without their consent, commissioners said. In a statement, a Flow spokesperson said the company cooperated with the FTC, adding, "We are committed to ensuring that the privacy of our users' personal data is absolutely paramount." And this is kind of one of those, like, we got caught, so we're going to apologize. You didn't care about your users' data, and honestly, nobody really cares if their data. I shouldn't say nobody cares, but the vast majority of the public are idiots and don't even think about this stuff. So all they had to say right from the outset is, "We're going to share your data," and honestly, the vast majority of people would still sign up and use this app anyways. So it's kind of stupid lying about it, but I find it somewhat hilarious that they're like, "Our users' privacy is absolutely paramount," when they said they wouldn't share data, lied, and shared data, and now they're sorry that they got caught. The company emphasized that it didn't share users' names, birthdays, or addresses, and that its agreement with the FTC wasn't an admission of wrongdoing, but to allow it to avoid the time and expense of litigation and decisively put this matter behind us. So they're guilty, basically. The FTC, in its complaint that Flow promised to keep users' data private when it actually disclosed data to third parties that provided marketing and analytic services to the app, including Facebook's Analytics division, as well as Alphabet Inc.'s Google Analytics division, and others. Facebook and Google didn't immediately respond to requests for comment. Flow did not stop disclosing data until its practices were revealed in a 2019 Wall Street Journal article. According to the agency, the journal's testing showed that Facebook software collected data from many apps, even if no Facebook account was used to log in, and even if the end user wasn't a Facebook member. The article prompted hundreds of complaints from users, the FTC said. The FTC suggested that more cases could be coming. Apps that collect and share sensitive health information can provide valuable services, but consumers need to be able to trust these apps, said Andrew Smith, director of the FTC's Bureau of Consumer Protection. "We're looking closely at whether developers of health apps are keeping their promises and handling sensitive information responsibly." So I realize that technology can be very beneficial to tracking your diet, tracking your periods, tracking your health. But if you value your medical privacy, you may want to think twice before using a lot of these apps. Let me know your guys' thoughts on this story. Drop a comment in the comment section below. If you're not subscribed to the channel, click that subscribe button below, and we'll catch you guys on the next video.